Hey guys, I'm Abigail. Today I'm going to introduce to you one of my favorite series. It's a trilogy. The first book is titled The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight. The second is This Is What Happy Looks Like. And the third is The Geography of You and Me, which is the one I am currently reading. These books follow 3 different storylines about different people, so each book has a set of characters that is different from the previous book, which is really interesting. But they all follow the same general themes and kind of plot. It's about a couple that meets in unlikely circumstances, and then they kind of get to know each other through their common interests, and then they fall in love. Not to be a spoiler or anything, but I really like the way this author writes because she brings up topics that are kind of deep and thought-provoking, and it makes you really think about what do I personally believe. And it's also fun to see how she writes the characters and how the characters kind of believe the same things as you do sometimes. So obviously the genre is romance, and these books are authored by Jennifer E. Smith, and I would rate these books 4 out of 5 stars because I really enjoyed reading them and having to think about some of the topics that she brings up, and it was just really fun to get to experience that. I would recommend this to anyone who likes romance or likes to think about things like the meaning of life, if true love is real, and other things like that. The audience would probably be mostly females unless you are a male and you like romance, because that's totally fine. But I think the target audience is mostly female because that's most often the perspective that the book is written from, the perspective of the female half. And I think that it's just targeted more towards them in just the way she writes, because she's obviously the author is a woman. So now I'm going to read a portion to you that kind of gets into the deeper thoughts that the author brings up. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be? Lucy asked, and Owen felt a flash of recognition. It was a question that was always on his mind, and the first thing he usually wondered about other people, even if he never got around to asking. Everywhere, he said, and she laughed, the light sound and musical. That's not an answer. Sure it is, he said, because it was true, possibly the truest thing about him. Sometimes it seemed as if his whole life was an exercise in waiting, not waiting to leave, exactly, but simply waiting to go. He felt like one of those fish that he had the capacity to grow in unimaginable ways if only the tank were big enough. But his tank had always been small, and as much as he loved his home, as much as he loved his family, he'd always felt himself bumping up against the edges of his own life. So that was just a little bit to explain the kind of deep thoughts that the author brings up, and that's really what I like most about the book. Thanks!